Coming to America, the sequel. What did you like about it? What did you not like? How would you have written the story differently? And what grade would you give the movie? We'll be talking about all of this, and keep in mind that this discussion will be full of spoilers, just so you know. Table Chatter presents Table of Cinema. Today, joining us at the table, we have all of our members from Table Chatter, a few of them. We have Antonio.
What's going on?
Glad to have you. We have Wedson. We have Nia. And we have Molly. I'm glad all of you are here. This movie has been 30 years in the making, and I know we all have a lot to say. So I would like us to start off with saying what we liked about the movie. I'll start off with saying what I liked. And one of the things that I can say, I like how the movie started off with the acknowledgement that Hakeem and Lisa have been married for 30 years. I think that's a beautiful thing. And especially in this day and age, especially with a black couple, you know, everybody's getting divorced. So for the movie to highlight that they've been married and happily married for 30 years, I think was great. You know, that's the first thing. I have a list that I made of things that I like, but I'll save that. Is there anything else that you guys liked in the movie? Whoever wants to jump in.
For me, I love seeing the old cast. Like, I love seeing Hakeem. I love seeing Lisa. I love seeing I can think Arsenio Hall reprise his role. I was in my little glory. I was like, okay. And again, going back to seeing that Hakeem and Lisa were married for 30 plus years, I was like, it picked off exactly where the original movie left off for me. So I was like, I love seeing that.
Yeah, that was great.
I'll say that I liked the costume design was I thought was pretty cool for the most part, especially
yes.
his eldest daughter. His eldest daughter was just she had her like kind of like head I guess adornments or whatever her head adornments were just absolutely amazing. So those were my favorite things as an artist. It was anytime she was on screen, whether they were like, doing their little sparring thing or whatever, his oldest daughter looked visually like just appealing. Her hair looked cool, and like all the jewelry and any of the head dresses that she had on were absolutely amazing. Especially the final one that she had on toward the end of the movie was great.
Yes.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
The entire outfits were well done. It was beautiful. It was great. It was a great highlight in the film for sure.
Okay. I think I'll try to go next. My favorite parts of the movie, like Antonio mentioned, was his eldest daughter. That was my favorite part of the movie. I feel like she was absolutely perfect. The acting was great. Just her character, she embraced that role of being both strength and feminine in there. It was amazing. I absolutely love like her eldest daughter, the role he played in the movie. The music, I love the soundtrack. The costume design, absolutely amazing. It gave me that whole original, Coming to America, Wakanda. It gave me all of that. Loved all of it. Loved that part. Of course, Black love. I'm a big advocate for it. So I definitely love, him being married for so long and stuff like that. I absolutely love that part. Two other parts. Leslie Jones. I loved her character. She brought me joy every scene she was in. She was great. Leslie Jones, I absolutely loved her in the movie. And General Izzy, Wesley Snipes' character. I died every time he was on screen. Every single time with the gestures, the walk, the movement, every time he was on screen, I loved it. Those were like my favorite parts of the movie.
Piggybacking off of what you said about Mika, the eldest daughter. One thing that I noticed, at least for me, she had the spirit of her grandmother, Hakeem's mom, who passed away, who wasn't in the movie. Like every time I saw her on screen, just her regalness, the way that she carried herself with a certain dignity and strength, I was like, wow, this is like, that character, I thought that was pretty cool. And I also liked how the movie talked about female empowerment and how they showed that there needed to be changes with the laws, because like a lot of the laws held women back. So that was good to see that they were starting to acknowledge that, whereas, in the end, eventually he said to the daughter that, you could take over the kingdom when I'm gone. So I thought that was pretty cool, because she would be the first in the long line of Zamunda men,
The problem with going last, everybody said everything already. Definitely makeup and costume design. That was the first thing I noticed. All of it, the sets, even everyone down to the dancers. Something that did make me laugh was the fact that they had Miss Garcelle still throwing them damn rose petals. I don't know why that tickled my soul, but it did. I loved all of his daughters. His daughters were the highlight of the entire film for me. Even the little one, the fact that, the youngest was trying to educate her brother and she still maintained her humor while still being a little princess was, young queen. That was fantastic. And just all the middle daughter, I loved her hair the whole time.
Oma.
Oma, I loved her hair. She had, it made her, not that it made her look smarter, but it had, I don't know, I guess it had a sense of strength and wisdom in it. She always kind of held that. She never spoke unless she felt that it was very important to. I liked that the strong silence that she held. Right. His daughters were the best thing in the film for me.
And what's cool about Oma is that, I don't know if you guys noticed, that's his real daughter too.
That's his real daughter, I found it out.
So I thought that was awesome. It would have been nice to see the daughters have more lines, especially Oma. I feel like she didn't speak much, but I do like the strength that she exuded on the screen. She was kind of like, she was quiet, but she was observing. And you could tell that she was very smart, like the way that she came off. Another thing that I liked is that in the beginning of the movie, they had a Zamunda version of McDowell's that opened. I thought that was pretty cool. And I don't know if you guys caught it. They had an African, like a Ronald McDonald, when they were taking the picture. Yeah. Like it came on the screen real fast. I thought that was hilarious.
That was funny.
Are there any quotes that any of you like?
I didn't write any quotes down, but I loved his youngest daughter's wit about her, like her little sassiness. For me, she had me rolling. Like her sass reminds me of like me as a kid, because I was that kid that, I'm gonna be honest, if you said something like, what is that? Like the attitude that was the embodiment of me as a child. I'm sorry, like that was me as a kid. Like I would give you sass, I would look at you like, oh, okay. And then the fight scene too, that was really good. I loved their fight scene when they were defending their home. Seeing all three of the girls whoop Izzy's butt, yo. And then for the older sister, Minka, to be like, are you done? Are you finished, basically? Hands down, loved it.
No, it was definitely good. One of the quotes that I wrote down that I liked, Prince Hakeem said to Izzy, he said that true love is the bedrock of my kingdom. And then the camera zoomed in on his wife. I thought that was a beautiful line, because a lot of times people, they talk about relationship goals or they want to build, but there's no true love. So it makes you remember that, you got to have that. You know, if you're trying to really build something, like you have to choose the person that you're going to be with, you know, wisely, you know. And what I do like is that when he chose Lisa in the first part, he didn't just want a wife, somebody who would just obey everything. He wanted somebody that had depth, somebody that would. Yo, go on. So it looked like you were gonna say something, Antonio. No,
I'm sitting here listening to. Yeah, the costume design was pretty much the only thing that I really liked about the movie. So, y'all go ahead and have your fun.
Okay. All right. So we could go into it. We could go into the next segment on the things that we didn't like. Actually, when I first saw the movie, I have to say that I was very disappointed, because there's this anticipation after seeing the first movie a million times. You know, I love the movie, and then when the build up for the second movie, you had this high expectation, like, you know, that it's not gonna necessarily beat the first movie, it's not gonna be better, but you would expect it, especially after 30 years, for the movie to have a certain standard. And I felt that it fell short of that, you know. But I have to say, when I watched it a second time, I saw it from a different lens, and I kind of like appreciated certain things. But I'll let you go first, Antonio. Looks like you
ready.
a lot that you didn't like. So let's start.
Let me just sip my tea for a second.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I thought overall, for having it be 30 years of a wait and a build up, this movie unfortunately fell into the same trope that a lot of comedies, and just sequels in general, but especially comedies. When we think about comedies that get made, they do the same beats over and over and over again because they worked the first time. So you have to say the same jokes. The characters, you have to, like, how old were the barber guys? Like, y'all Negroes had to have been like 100, 110. Y'all was at least 70. Y'all was at least 70 in the first one. Like, the old white guy was at least 80 in the first one. And you look the same 30 years later, and then they say 30 years later. What they should have did is they should have been like, it's 10 years later. You know what I'm saying? It should have been like, it's 10 years later. Like, again, Joffrey, he still was older. You could have said, I'm sick and I'm dying. You make Wesley Snipes' character like a joke. The name of them is a joke. Next Storia. Y'all couldn't think of anything better than that. Like, come on, yo. You have Eddie Murphy's name rings bells, right? When you have all of that power in there, all of that black power that was in that movie, you know what I'm saying? You have all of that, and then this is what you give us. You shoehorn. I mean, realistically, Leslie Jones, I didn't like her character because she raped Hakeem. She raped him. Like, so first Wonder Woman is raping people. Now Leslie Jones' character is raping people. Like, what are we really doing in 2021? And like, that was a thing that, like, they didn't even talk about that. Then they're doing that during the 80s, so nobody got AIDS. Okay, fantastic. Because you know, Simi just sleeping with whoever. Okay. We also know that they did use protection. She literally just jumped right on top of him. I was like, wow, yo, so y'all just on the raw D it up out here. And I guess I'm being so like particular and nitpicky because we waited 30 years for this. And it is an Eddie Murphy movie. It has Arsenio Hall, who they put all the eyeliner in the world on the whole movie. They make up all these. I mean, they had to put every character in there. They even put the twins in there. And I was like, wow, y'all really, I mean, I get it. It's cute. Y'all should have had them in New York. You should have had them bump into them in New York. That would have been oh, hey, don't. So everybody getting flown out to Munda. Like, so for me, overall, I thought it was so much. Like, I mean, Wesley Snipes, every time he comes in there, like, him and his friends him and his minions are dancing. It's like, this a step team? What is this? Is this like, huh? Is this You Got Served Zamunda? what are we talking about right now? Like, what are we really doing?
Do it for Lil Saint.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Then you have Rick Ross, dumbass, on there talking about the General Easy.
Well, it made sense for Rick Ross to be in the movie. You know why? That was his house. That was his house. So they got to give him a cameo at least. So right. I understood that part. Who wants to go next?
I agree with everything Antonio said. It was, and I said this to Greg too. The whole movie, it felt like Black Hollywood threw a cookout, and whoever showed up got a part in the film. Like there was no real rhyme or reason to anything. It was just Black people for Black people's sake. I mean, when I saw Wesley Snipes come out, I was about ready to turn the movie off. I was done. The second I saw the little North Day stroll up into the why do you have to be a buffoon? Sorry. And then at the party, you've got Morgan Freeman announcing people, and Vogue came out, Salt and Pepper came out. They had the nerve to involve Miss Gladys in this mess. Why? What a king, what a king, what a king, what a king. I mean, it was lovely to see everybody, you know. We're not all together in the same place at the same time that often, so it was nice. The cookout's always nice, but then why? For what possible reason? And yes, I would like to address the fact that Leslie Jones raped him, and you know, I want to understand why in Hollywood, when like the times when they want to show equality and how women are just like men and we can do all the same things. It's rape.
Speak it to the mic a little bit.
It's rape. Every time we do something that men can do and they show women's strength, we're violating somebody. Right. Why is that a thing that happens and it's acceptable? Now, I commend the way they wrote it, that his wife simply understood, which we know is a crock of it's bullshit.
That's because he didn't tell her. That's because he didn't tell her. He just said he slept with another woman.
Again, he was raped. And we're gonna stay on the topic. He was drugged and he was raped.
Right. Like, how is none of that? And it's all just a joke. It's all a joke and it's all in good fun. But how? Why is that acceptable?
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that part either.
There was a lot in there that was just like, oh, this is how we live right now, 30 years later, and we not only do we not know better, but it seems like we know less. Like, how did that happen? How did we backtrack?
They also stripped all the power away from Lisa. Lisa got stripped of all her power. Lisa was she was such a strong character in the first movie, right? She was a no-nonsense, intelligent type of woman. She's definitely not the type of woman who is then going to get drunk off Crown Royal for some reason with Leslie Jones's character. Like, you're a queen and you've been a queen for 30 years. Like, no.
You're bugging.
No. Okay.
You're bugging.
Okay.
And then the one time she gets her strength and her power back is when she's drunk.
Right.
Okay. Woo. All right.
Right.
Oh Lord.
Right.
Okay. First off, I'm mad that everything I wrote down, Antonio and Nia said. Let's get that out of the way first. I'm mad that you guys literally just take the words out of my mouth after I wrote them down specifically to be said. But you know what? I forgive you guys for that, because you guys said it. The plot was trash. First of all, okay, let me backtrack. When I first saw the movie, and I went on my Facebook post because it seemed like that's all everybody was talking about, and they had asked, "Oh, what do you think about the movie?" My exact answer was, "Oh, that movie was hot garbage," and I wrote trash. That's English. Fatga, that's Creole. Basura, that's Spanish.
Basura.
Poubelle, that's French. Makeup, that's Russian. I even wrote the Arabic version of it for how trash it was. That's what I wrote initially.
Wedson, you out here trying to humble brag on the language speaking. You trying to humble brag?
Low key.
I see it.
Low key.
I see it. It's not even low key. It's high key. This Negro's out here like, yeah, I said it. I said it in that.
It's hot.
I even sign language it. You know what I'm saying? I put the braille in there. Dot.
You're smart,
Oh
Wedson.
my God.
Yeah.
Yo, I got to
No,
keep
listen,
going.
no, Antonio,
Oh,
like the kids would say, no cap. I went to look for other ways to call it trash.
oh
Oh,
God.
There you
okay,
go.
I'm back. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? Sorry about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
I
we
got a
can hear
call
you.
for some reason. Okay, no, but hold on. What happened was, I'm like, yo, I hated it so much initially that I went to look for other languages for me to call it trash. That's how I was initially. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? Because Coming to America is my all-time favorite movie, so that's why I felt the way I felt initially. So I was like, you know what? Let me go back and find some redeeming qualities. That's what I did. That's
Did
why
you watch it a second time?
Hmm?
You watched it a second time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Skimmed through it a second time. Because I
Okay.
went to find some redeeming qualities, and I knew the parts I was just like, okay, this is hot trash. I'm gonna go ahead and skip through it. So like I watched it again second time, and that's when I found the qualities I mentioned in the movie that I did like. Because like for one, I couldn't take the parts that I liked of it was like because I'm not taking certain things too seriously. One thing I did mention though, me and my brother had this discussion yesterday, was the rape part that we just completely ignored and act like it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that at such a convenient time after 30 years, it was like, oh hey, you know what? We need a son. Let's go ahead and make one up. And I was like, first of all, you could have been like, because also it was never mentioned in the movie that he didn't sleep with nobody else. It just mentioned that he took some time to find Lisa. So he could have been like, oh, one of those nights when he was out, he slept with somebody. You didn't have to be like, oh, he was drugged and raped. Like, It could have been that. The acting was absolutely terrible. I don't know who. I'm like, outside of like his daughter, I don't know too many people in the movie that actually acted great or even good. Arsenio Hall acted terribly in that movie. Eddie Murphy is a great actor in my opinion, but his acting in that movie was terrible.
Trash.
So
yeah.
I'm like, sheesh. I'm like, and then also like Antonio and Neil already said the recycled jokes. Like somebody mentioned online. Somebody mentioned it was like, oh, it was like, well, it wasn't to be taken seriously. You can't expect to have the same feeling that you got from the same move from the movie initially. I was like, if that's the case, then why did they give us the same characters, the same jokes? They give us everything virtually the same,
Right.
almost the same plot, but we're not supposed to expect the same feeling. How can we not? You literally tried to basically like duplicate the feeling that you got the first time. Jermaine Fowler, I didn't like him. The guy who played his son, I didn't like him. It felt like at every point he was overacting, or trying too hard. He gave me, I don't know if you guys saw the movie, Joker from Suicide Squad vibe. Like, I must go above and beyond to give you, like, to prove that.
You mean the son? You mean the son,
yes,
Wedson? The
yes,
son?
the son, yes.
LaBelle.
Yeah. He gave me that vibe. I'm like, okay, like that's trash. And then I'm like, you put all that together, and then okay, and like Neil said though, you literally took every single black person that's ever been in Hollywood and threw them together and hoping they would make the movie funny or it would make the movie good. It did not work. It failed miserably because I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm looking at like the way they put everything together. Like the plot was, I'm like, oh, in order to become king, you must do this. You must like do these like these tasks.
Yeah. I wrote that down. Hold on.
It's like, okay, let's do this task, and then I just had it too. I just had it to my tongue. When they were saying like, okay, Lisa, like the reason why his mother approved of Lisa and actually made it happen is because Lisa was basically like similar to his mother, right?
Right.
And then here she goes, become the queen and stuff like that, and everything lovable about her, everything that's supposed to be great about her, you strip all that away, and then this is the last point. The last thing is the fact that okay, his mother was upset about the fact that he's like, oh, and when King Joffrey was like, oh, it's traditions, and she was like, well, I thought you were the king, you could change this tradition, and they did with allowing him to marry Lisa, and then she came into power and did nothing for 30 years, and then so now when it's time to get a new prince or to get somebody else to follow Hakim's footsteps, it's like, oh, in 30 years we changed absolutely nothing, even though that was supposed to be the goal. And then now we go back to, we must find somebody to take over. And it must be somebody with a penis, because that's the only way a kingdom could be ruled. Really? So then, what was like, you changed nothing. He basically came into power and became Joffrey all over again. And then even the lines when he said, "Oh well, I can't do anything about that. It's just tradition. It's the culture." Blah blah blah. It's like,
But I think that's what they were trying to show. They were trying to show that, slowly he became his father, and he had to relearn who he was before. Because when he went back to Queens and interrupted his son about, who was about to get married, his son, when his son stood up to him and was like, "Dad, I'm gonna marry her. This is who I love," it kind of brought him back. And I felt like that's when he changed.
Why did he need to be brought back? I mean, again,
sometimes you forget who you are.
Every single day you wake up and look at your wife, that should have been a reminder of who you are, of all of that. That should have been the reminder.
Oh no, Wedson, let's let Molly, what
please
didn't you like?
Go ahead.
Y'all pretty much took a lot. I have a whole notepad right here. Y'all took a lot of what I was gonna say. Y'all said it already, so thanks. But definitely breezing over that whole rape scenario. Again, the plot to me was just basura. The sexism. I wanted to pull my hair out. I'm not gonna hold y'all. It was annoying. And then, like, one thing that really made me mad was Hakeem was like, "Oh, Minka was supposed to take over after King Hakeem passed, basically." Why are you changing that? Like, what, in the words of Cardi B, what was the reason? What's the reason? Like, I didn't understand. And then now all of a sudden, since Izzy comes in looking like a buffoon, you gotta go find your son. Another thing that pissed me off was the word bastard. I lost count of how many times that word was used for LaBelle. I have siblings. Let me try to say this. I have siblings. We have the same father. They're not bastards. We're siblings. So why do you need to feel the need to use that word? That is so offensive. It's not even funny. So you got the rape. You got the word bastard, the bastard child.
It's just illegitimate. It's their way of saying illegitimate. Like the bastard child has always been like the out of wedlock, the like, I don't really know you, get out of here.
But the point is that is still his son. There's no need to add any extra terminology. That was just King Hakeem's son. Point blank, period, end of conversation for me. Another thing that irritated me was, again, you brought every black actor to this cookout. It flopped. I feel like you had some really strong actors in here. You could have gave them more lines. Rotimi, who's played on a #1 hit show on Stars, Power. Phenomenal actor. What are you doing? You did not do anything for this man.
Rotimi, Wesley Snipes' son in the movie.
He was Izzy's son, ID Izzy. I think I said it right. IDIZA.
He was a buffoon too.
They made him look crazy.
They made him look stupid. Rotimi is a phenomenal, not only phenomenal actor, he's a phenomenal singer.
That's true. He could sing.
Like, you got Tiana Taylor. Again, this is her first acting role. You made her look stupid. You had celebrities.
I think she was a reflection. She's a reflection of the women who are given for arranged marriages, which was like in the original movie where
I know, but again, that's the plot that made it fail. You're trying to recreate something that's an occult classic. You could have accommodated anything you want. Century. Right. You have this whole open floor plan with these amazing actors. What are you doing? Like, again, what are you doing? You did nothing. That's what you accomplished. Nothing. And I got my anger out, so thank you.
It's the sad part about it is the sad part about it is, like we've all said, it really could have been something monumentous, right? Especially living where the time we're living in right now, it could have been something monumentous. You could have touched on a couple different things. You touched on gentrification for like a second. You could have touched on that. You could have literally had Hakeem just come up and buy like the buildings that he, you know what I'm saying? You could have had him do that. You could have had him do like an ode to Black Panther and be like, no, you know what? I'm gonna buy all this because we got money. But you make it, what the thing that I hate about certain comedies is when people are absolutely stupid. Like you just lack the average knowledge that an average person has. So you had Hakeem's first bride still hopping on one foot 30 years later.
And barking like a dog.
Oh my God.
So why are we doing that? So why are we doing that? The common sense aspect of it, right? To me, to tell me in 30, Hakeem never was like, hey, Lisa, you know, I was supposed to marry somebody before you. And, you know, she's never come around in 30 years. And then of course, Wesley Snipes' character walks in and now here she is in the same fucking gown. Psych. No, that's not gonna happen.
Oh my God!
I think that was supposed to be his sister or a relative or something like that.
It was his sister.
No,
in
it was
movie.
It was I hear you, but what I'm saying is that part, that the fact that you made it so that she even showed up. You could have had her show up again at the wedding, and then still have her kind of bark at somebody to be a nod to it. You feel what I'm saying? Right. But then you make it so. Then also, like it was like Nia said, you had the flower bearer in there, right? You had the whole thing where they're putting flowers on the ground. Right. After the first 5 minutes, you did not see those flowers on the ground at all. For the rest of the movie, I was like, so
what happened to that? Right.
Right. Can we talk also about how King Joffrey just died? I'm going to die now.
Well, let's talk about the whole ceremony. That I didn't like. I mean, I can understand a person wanting to have a celebration of their life, but it was just weird because he was in a coffin the whole time. So that didn't make sense. And then he said, okay, I'm gonna die now, and he died. So I think they were trying to make it funny, but I don't think it was funny.
I'm laughing because it was tragic. I'm going to die now.
But there's a certain kind of comedy where that's the structure, where it's just that level of camp. So it's just like I don't know if any of you have ever seen it, but there's a movie called Oscar, and the very beginning of the movie, I think it's Michael Douglas or his dad, who, you know, he says, okay, now I'm ready to die. He dies, comes back, slaps his son, and he said, that's so you don't forget what I said, and falls back out. Like that's that. There's a place for that level of comedy.
Right.
So, and this film, for me at least, this film is very much the place for that level of comedy. It's just they did it too much. They had too much of it, and it was nonstop. And like Antonio said, his initial bride, they could have done the nod at the end when they showed her sort of re-entering.
And she barked again at the end.
And she barked at somebody. That would have been enough. Why did she have to come out with her hair looking all crazy? You mean to tell me that in all this time, Hakeem never said, stop barking, stop hopping, be a normal human? Why didn't that happen?
Yeah, that goes back to the sexism role. That goes back to the sexism part.
And devil's advocate for that whole, the fact that Hakeem transitioned back to his dad. He had the scene that he had with Lisa's father, where they discussed the fact that, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. That was the one smart thing that they did, because that explained all of Hakeem's behavior. It explained the fact that he once again became his father and forgot the person that he actually was.
He got comfortable.
That's the one and only smart thing that they did with this film.
You know what though? I feel like in that same breath, the same way that no matter how ridiculous King Joffrey was, his wife always reeled him back. I feel like they should have made Lisa be the one to reel him back at some point.
And then that's
she did nothing. She did nothing.
That never happened.
They stripped her. They made her character
a stand-in. They made her character a stand-in, basically.
I mean, she tried when she was drunk. She tried.
But why did she have to
be drunk to have a voice?
And then again, for her to be with Lisa Leslie's character getting drunk, to me, it made no sense. It made
you mean Leslie Jones?
Leslie Jones' character. it made no sense because again, she would not associate herself with that person. She wouldn't.
Well, the way that they explained it is that she had no friends, and then that's because she said that she finally made a friend from Queens. So there was something about her leaving Queens, being in Zamunda. She didn't have any like traditional girlfriends because all the women that were in the house worked
And
for
your
her.
girlfriend is the one that raped your husband.
Husband,
And now,
right.
and also, by the way, now with the way she was presented, she was like, oh, she wanted Hakeem to be progressive at some point, right? To be like, listen, look at your daughters who's been preparing for this her whole life, instead of this random kid, who just happens to be a son that was born out of rape, and then she's telling me like, and she decided to have that voice and then goes, oh yeah, the same woman that that caused all this, that's gonna be my only friend now. After being queen of 30 years. Yeah, okay.
I mean, why did she have the trauma bond with her? Like, what was that about? Why did she have a trauma bond with this woman? And being the character that Lisa was, how did she in 30 years not make one friend?
How did she not go back to New York and visit some of her friends?
And they fly everyone else from the first movie to Zamunda. But you can't fly and where's your sister at? Your sister's gone. They didn't have that. They didn't recast your sister because that makes no sense that the father and her now live in Zamunda, but you don't.
But where's the sister? Right.
Where's the sister? Right. So okay, let's just let that
her
go.
Sister, her sister ran off with Daryl. Remember at the end of the movie when Daryl came in the sister's room?
Right, he wasn't in the movie.
And now they're running Soul Glow together. That's all. And being that ain't nobody got Jericho no more, not living in poverty somewhere,
they should have referenced it though.
They should have referenced
where she is.
They should have referenced that.
Right. They live in a two-bedroom apartment in Flatbush. They got 4 kids.
Why we gotta do Flatbush like that? Pause. Don't do Flatbush.
Don't do Flatbush. They can stay in Queens. They can stay in Queens.
They even gave him the same clothes when he went back to New York and like got out of his Prince-like garbs. He had the same exact clothes on. I was like, yo, why are you doing this? Like I almost turned it off 3 times, to be honest. And it's
trying to duplicate the first one.
They
were trying to duplicate the first movie.
Arsenio Hall said that they had jokes that they wanted to tell, but they couldn't because of the way society, like the culture is and everything like that. So it's called do better, write better jokes. You can write all the jokes that you want to. And as a matter of fact, you're Eddie Murphy. They can't cancel you. You know what I'm saying? They can't cancel you. Like,
they canceled R. Kelly.
Eddie.
That nigga's R. Kelly.
R. Kelly.
Excuse my language, but that's R. Kelly.
Okay, R. Kelly's always out here wilding.
Antonio, your audio, it's messing up.
We can't compare that to R. Kelly. R. Kelly was wilding, like. That was everything.
Yes, R. Kelly was definitely wilding, but I'm saying they still canceled him. They looked past his music. They looked past his artistry. Like this man
But I'm
is
saying
wilding.
Eddie Murphy would be canceled for some good jokes though.
But they
doesn't matter. They still would have canceled him.
It's a lot not matter. They cancel somebody like Eddie Murphy because of how his career began. If you look at Raw and Delirious, if we was gonna cancel Eddie Murphy, we would have canceled him before.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense to do that. We know who he is.
Yeah.
Some it's like some people are uncancelable or not cancelable, however that you would say that word. But some people you don't.
They've already established who they are, especially as a comedian. It's really hard to cancel you, especially once your type of comedy has been established. Like there's been things that Dave Chappelle has done in his stand-up.
I was gonna mention that.
That are super questionable. I can't begin to describe how I feel about the whole blind black white supremacist thing that he did. Nobody's canceling Chappelle.
But the irony,
they've been trying for 15 years, and somehow he gets better and richer and just still around.
Because he's a comedian and he already established what his type of comedy is. So once you say this is me and the world accepts you, they can't be like, oh, but everyone's mad now, so I have to not accept you anymore. That's not going to happen. Especially not in the community. You're not going to do it.
The irony about Arsenio, or saying that there's certain
Arsenio
jokes
Hall?
that we want to Arsenio Hall, there's certain jokes we wanted to tell, but we can't tell it. Okay, you can't tell your jokes, but you're gonna have the movie about rape culture.
Right.
So that didn't make sense. I don't understand that part.
Did they want to tell if that was out of line, but the rape wasn't? That's what I want
for
to know.
me. It's like as
Right.
a survivor of that, like for me, like it was a complete turnoff. Like I wanted to like turn like I text you, and I was like, it's the sexism for me. Like it's the sexism. It was the whole rape scenario. Like you gotta do better. We are in 2021. One, we're in a whole pandemic. Two, you do have victims, and you see that this right now in this culture, we have the Me Too movement. We're not letting this slide, but again, it may piss me off. You let it slide into a movie like we weren't gonna acknowledge that.
You know something about
It's
that
not
though?
cute. It's disgusting.
You know something about that though? And this is the thing about me what I got from that movie is the fact that we talk about equality.
Right.
Because we talk about equality when it comes to women. Nobody ever think about equality when it comes to men. Nobody thinks about it.
Ooh,
it's not even a thing.
I was gonna say, y'all remember the show The Parkers?
Yeah.
Nikki Parker chased Stanley Ogilvy till she married him.
Thank you.
But we not gonna talk about that.
Hold on.
Like you
Before
gotta
that,
be.
Before that, let's talk about the fact that we all grew up watching Family Matters, and Steve Urkel was the biggest creep in the fucking world. Like Steve Urkel busted in their house on a consistent basis. Steve Urkel destroyed their house multiple times. Steve Urkel even built the Urkel bot that almost like assaulted Laura. You know what I'm saying? Because it loved Laura. Like, are we forgetting?
Let's cancel everything from 1980 to 2015.
Well, see, here's the thing. Space Jam 2 is about to come out. Space Jam 2 is about to come out, and they cut a whole scene with Pepe Le Pew in it simply because, and the fact of the matter is, it's sad because it was going to be a scene where Pepe Le Pew tries to grab a woman like he usually does, and she puts a restraining order on him, and LeBron says, hey, man, you can't do that. Like, that's not cool. And he, like, learns that you're not supposed to do that. But they cut him out simply because the cartoon is satire. And like Wedson said, you have this double standard, and it is unfortunate. I mean, the scale, of course, is greatly tipped in the sense of usually it's a man that's violating a woman, but you have repeated times of when the woman is violating the man, or the man's like, no, we can take it slow. Woman pushes the guy down, and he's like, no, it's okay. Rips his belt off, and he's like, kind of like gives in. But again, I thought no was supposed to be no, but that's a trope that's been used throughout the years. Let's just say like the last 50 years. Let's just take the last 50 years. It's been a trope that's been widely used in an array, not only of Black, but all types of media. And we unfortunately, knowing Arsenio when he came back on the air, and Arsenio when he had his Netflix special, he talks about it. He talks about like comedy now and double standards now. So for him to read this script and not have any kind of say is weird to me that they put that scene in there, especially when it contradicts the first movie. The first movie, when they go to the club and meet nobody, and they meet the Peaches and all the, I just want to tear you and your friend apart. After that, they literally go to meet Lisa that same night. They go to the fundraiser that same night. They go to the fundraiser. So how can it be that you automatically like you cut from here into here? Like,
that's
again,
a good point. That's a good point.
It's supposed to be for people like us who have watched and loved. Coming to America to me is my favorite comedy of all time, right? It's my favorite comedy because the jokes stick, everything lands, it lands well, right? And even in today, you can still watch it and still be like, yo, this is dope. This is really, really cool. It was groundbreaking for the time for it to be such a Black movie. And now you have all these Black people in here, and you realistically, it really was almost like the acting and the jokes was very much blackface. If you ask me, you know what I'm saying? It's very much like what white people would think that black people have to do. You're the leader of an African country. You come in here dancing and jiving and here's some soft shoe, boss. Like I get the comedy aspect is supposed to be there, but even in the first movie, when there was dancing, there wasn't just dancing every time somebody walked in the room. There was dancing because it was like a marriage thing that was happening.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? It was like a celebration.
It was tribal, right?
And it's tribal, right?
There was some significance to it.
Yeah.
It's just sad. It's just sad that this is the thing that we have so much more to talk about on the bad side of the movie that we waited 30 years for and that we did not ask for. That's really the thing about it is no one asked for this. And this is the problem, like as a creative and when it comes to the arts in general, a lot of Black people get mad when you take a character and you take a white character and you make it into a Black character. You know what I'm saying? On screen, this character was supposed to be white, but now you made him Black, all this stuff. And this is the pitfall that we fall into. It's called, you make something, instead of making something new, instead of Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy and all these funny, amazing Black people making something new, you go back and you rehash, and it is absolutely absurd, and that's sad.
So I heard that Ryan Coogler, who approached Eddie Murphy a few years back to do the sequel, but it was going to be a different kind of story with Michael B. Jordan playing the son. But for whatever reason, they never used that version, and I wonder how that would have been. I'm pretty sure it would have been good.
I agree.
I agree. I think it would have been good. Yeah,
would have been fire
because
coming off Black Panther.
You know why? Right. You know why it would have been good? Because Ryan Coogler is a great storyteller. I felt like in this movie they focused more on the comedy side, trying to make things funny, than the actual storyline being good with funny elements. If they would have done that like the first one, I think it could have came out a lot better.
But a bad script is a bad script. A bad script is a bad script, though, Greg. And that's the thing that people have to realize. Like, people dog Halle Berry a whole bunch of times. Oh, well, she was horrible in the first X-Men movie and all the X-Men movies, and she was horrible in this movie. Like, hold on. She's doing the best that she can with the script that is given to her. If the script is trash, I don't care if you got God himself directing the movie. It's still going to be trash. Because you can only act your way out of, you can only say a line so many different ways. If the line is trash, the line is trash. There was no, realistically, when you asked us earlier, what was some lines that we liked out of the movie?
None.
You can easily go to the first movie and pull out multiple lines out of the movie.
Right.
So what do you do? What do you do in this one? You have to rehash. Oh, that boy good. That boy good. That's something that we know from the first movie.
Right.
Randy Watson, Sexy Chocolate. Like, that's from the first movie. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's called a good script. Even if I'm saying all this to say if Ryan Coogler would have directed it, it still would have been a trash movie. It would have been a trash movie directed by a great director. Is what it would have been.
Something like Antonio said that that resonated with me. I was thinking is the fact that when he said a trash script is a trash script, because like I say, and Greg, actually I think you said this. You're like, you know what? Instead of making like putting like good characters or writing a good script and then getting funny out of it, they went for funny and then it didn't work out.
Right.
They went for funny. They recycled the jokes. It was cheesy. It's like okay. It's like when somebody tells a joke. Somebody tell you a joke. It's funny the first time. If they say that same joke 3-4 times, you laugh less and less and less and less. And being that Coming to America is a movie we've seen for 30 years. I know for me, I've seen that movie at least 2-3 times a year for the past 30 years. And I mean, it's way more than that. At least 2-3 times a year, which means those jokes I've memorized. I know the movie line for line. So when I hear that again in the second movie, I'm like,
it's like lazy writing.
I'm like, extremely lazy writing. Extremely lazy. Like you did nothing.
You could also talk about the Friday trilogies too. Like you could see after a certain time in where the Friday, I stopped watching them. I think after the final one, Well, the one that said "No more locked doors." That's the only funny quote that I have from that movie. I don't really care. Like that was the one scene I'm sorry that made me laugh. Was the "No more locked doors, homie. No more locked doors." Like you watch Friday go from this outstanding black occult classic to now it's just a joke to me. Like I feel like it's a joke.
Yeah,
it's a joke, and you made me personally feel like a movie that I grew up on a joke. It's a joke. Like you made Coming to America a joke, and a bad joke at that.
They were trading
once people get their hands in it.
Go ahead, Antonio.
No. Go ahead. You go ahead. I'll talk all day.
They were trading too much on the nostalgia of the film. I mean, I'm at a cultural disadvantage when it comes to this movie because it was never a favorite of mine.
Right.
I'm not a person who, if I see Coming to America on TV, I'm just like, oh shit, and I'm gonna watch. I'm not gonna do it. So, oh, okay, and I'm gonna keep flipping. And if there's literally nothing else on, I'll leave it on, and then I'll probably go do dishes or something.
So this didn't help. This didn't help with that.
It didn't. But my whole family is obsessed with this film, so I know the quotes just because I hear them all the time, but I don't have the same attachment to it. But I figured, okay, so maybe if there's different people, maybe, you know, with the sequel, maybe it'll improve something. I mean, I enjoyed the original, you know, I enjoyed it. It's just I never had the same level of attachment to it. And then watching this, I'm just like, well, there goes that. Like, I'm not gonna, like, they ruined any chance that ever existed of me finding the intense love that everyone else has for the original Coming to America, because now they made the whole thing just like Antonio said, they sort of made it blackface. They made it way too campy, and it just, aside from his daughters, to be honest, the whole thing was foolish. It was embarrassing. It didn't make me say gay black culture, gay black comedy, gay black anything. It was just like,
it was cringeworthy. It was just straight cringeworthy.
So much of it, yeah.
Like it's like almost how the Love and Basketball too, or the Honey trilogies. Like
why the Honey trilogies? Why did
it was that to me it should have gone. Granted, it goes straight to DVD. I feel like it didn't live up to the hype, which made me even more mad. It was bad. Even with the step up trilogies. We're talking about trilogies, the step up trilogies.
Let's keep it on coming to.
Sorry. Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask all of you as we come to a close. If you were to write this movie, how would you have written it differently?
Not write it.
I know you would say that, but there are ways it could have been written better. Because the reason why you're saying not write it is because it wasn't that great. But if it was great, then it would be a different conversation.
Okay. Let me just say. Wait, damn it! I just had a thought.
Want me to start? I could start.
You start.
Okay.
Come back to me.
All right. So I agree with everyone that the whole rape part was absurd, especially in the culture that we're living in. If you reverse the characters and you have a male character drugging a woman and getting her knocked up, everybody would be talking about canceling the movie.
Forget about it.
It wouldn't have been made. It would have been canceled. It would have been canceled after shooting.
So that shows a double standard in society, which is a whole other topic. But what they could have done, because if you remember in the first movie when the bathers were bathing Hakeem, right?
Oh, they were naked.
You remember when the girl came out the water and she said the royal penis is clean?
Yeah.
Do you remember the joke? There's a joke in that. The joke is that she was very far away. I don't know if you caught that. So the whole point, they're trying to say that Hakeem is packing, right?
Right.
Well, they did that with the foreskin thing too.
That's my second point. That's my second point. They showed that his foreskin was like way bigger than the others. So going along with that,
it's a whole other conversation into it too. So women lying out here, they be lying.
So going along with that theme that he's quote unquote packing, right? All they had to do was, what they could have done was when he encountered Leslie Jones' character in the 80s, right? They could have said something like he was drunk instead of being drugged. He was just drunk. And then the condom that he tried to put on was too small for him, and it busted, and he didn't know. Something like that. Something like that.
Something consensual.
Yeah, consensual.
Pretty
that
much.
would have been, and with the busted condom, I think that would have been better than him being drugged. And then another thing that I didn't like is that when he reunited with her character, it's like she wasn't even sure if he was the father.
She was.
She wasn't even sure. She was a
Right.
hoe.
So
She said she was a hoe.
He said, "I was a hoe.
so
I
it's
was
like-
a hoe. I was out in these streets."
So what
Right.
I would have done if, since it's a comedy, right, and they were in New York, right? Where do they shoot the Maury Povich show? In New York. I'm not saying I would have had Hakeem go on Maury Povich, but at least you could have had him. You could have had a cameo where he met up with him just to make sure that he was the father.
That would have been funny as shit. That would have been
That would have been funny. That would have been funny.
That would have been funny.
So he was
You
like,
are
he was
the
like,
father.
Hakeem, that would have been brilliant. All right. And that's it. You don't have to, they could have did something like that. So for me, that would have made more sense than the whole rape thing. And another thing that I would have changed, I understand how they had In Vogue, Gladys Knight, Salt and Pepper. I get it, right? Those songs, what they should have done is put those songs on the soundtrack only. They didn't have to put them in the movie because it sounded like it felt like they were forcing them into that scene because they were. It was like 10 seconds. And let's do a little clip of In Vogue. Okay, 10 seconds later, Salt and Pepper. 10 seconds later, you got somebody else coming out. It's like, just leave that on the soundtrack just to make it kind of like a Zamunda radio type of thing. Have fun with it there. You didn't have to put them in the movie because it made it corny. I get what they were trying to do. They're all great, but
the Central Chocolate made it corny for me.
Those are some of the changes that I would have done. And just clean up the storyline. Like the storyline has some good parts. The storyline did have some good parts. Like
which ones?
I like Mirembe. I like Mirembe, the one that the son married. I like her.
Yeah, I like that story. Yeah.
You know, I like how she told him to go on your own path. Don't worry about being the Prince of Zamunda. Be the Prince of Queens. Like there was some good things, but overall,
how did they fall in love in 3 days though? Like it felt like that love story happened.
Well, if you look at the first movie, in his defense, Hakeem, it wasn't months and months. He was in New York.
But you know what though? They formed a bond. Hey, listen, he went
That's
to work
the story writing. That's the writing.
Again, we're talking about writing, right? Let's fix the
He
writing.
also saved her life too. He also saved her life. He saved her life. So that's gonna get it wet automatically. Like I saved your life first off.
Again, he went out of his way. Like, listen, he formed a bond. He said he wanted to make sure that it was honorable. He wanted to make sure she loved him for him and not for him being a prince. Like went on multiple days. Like it's like there was a bond formed there. This one felt like you cut my hair twice, damn. I think I'll marry you. The fuck?
I mean, I know men bond with their barbers, but that seemed extreme to me.
It was called. Hey, you like barbershop? I like barbershop too. We in love. And why are you the only servant in the whole palace that acts differently than every other servant? No other servant talks except for you. Okay.
Forced. The whole thing was just so forced.
No other servant. No, it was very forced. And what could have happened is you could have literally had it been a situation where he could have fell in love with somebody. That character could have been another character in the thing. As a matter of fact, what really could have been, if you really wanted to go dip back in there, you should have made her American. And you should have made her you should have had him leave Zamunda and you should have had him fall in love with her, and then Hakeem can't find him. How can you just find this dude in the middle of New York? Like, huh?
Because he went to the barbershop.
He
went to the barbershop. They always know where everybody is.
I know.
Those two.
Okay.
All right. So Wedson,
immortal. These niggas is immortal.
For real. Well, then again, in the movie, remember in the movie when they were talking, they were talking about this guy, what do you call it, Rocky Marciano. He was like, Rocky Marciano, 137 years old. Well, them motherfuckers have been drinking it from the same fountain. But anyway, in the same spirit of being progressive, right? In the spirit of being progressive, right? Why, again, I'm going to go back to this point, was like, why did we make it where it's like, oh, hey, in order for somebody to take over the throne and stuff like that, let's just find the bastard with a penis. Like they basically said in the movie. It's like, you have, like you say, your daughter from the very beginning who's been trained for this her whole life. Why not explore that storyline? And again, now I'm questioning how the daughter was born to be that way, because her father basically became his father, Joffrey, and the mother basically said nothing for 30 years and basically did nothing for 30 years. So it's like, how did the daughter become this character? And again, why don't we explore?
She had the spirit of her grandma.
Okay, great. Let's explore that.
Yeah,
because that would have been way better than whatever the fuck they gave us. Because
they only gave the queen a picture. They gave her a picture. That's it. They didn't even mention. They mentioned her maybe twice in the whole movie, and all you saw was the picture of her. You didn't get a big portrait of her anywhere. Or something like that. You got a small, like 8x10 picture.
And what's crazy though? It's like, okay, like in the spirit of the daughter being the way she is, like it's like, okay, one, if you're gonna explore that, or however you're gonna do it, like, why you give us, like, I know movies love happy endings, like, tying all loose ends, but it's like, why'd you wait for the last 5 minutes for the movie to make it somewhat redeemable or to make it somewhat watchable? You wait till the last 5 minutes, because I'm like Antonio said a couple of times, I was like, okay, this is trash. Oh, this is garbage. Like I'm like, this is annoying. Like, can we do something? Can we do better? Like, I'm sure we can do better.
We can.
There's no way this is the best we come up with.
We can.
They could have done way better.
We can.
They definitely could have gave.
How would you have written it different? No, I'm asking you. How would you have written it differently?
I definitely wouldn't have touched this movie with the 10-foot pole, but I definitely would have given Pepito and her brother Izzy way more lines. Like, you have two people, one Rotimi, one being on a star show, a #1 hit star show at that, who has acting. You could have taken the siblings roles also and done way more with that as well. I would have rewritten how Izzy comes in. He's supposed to be this army general, and you made him look like a buffoon. You made him literally look like a laughing stock of the Black community. I'm gonna be real. Like,
he was the only one that made me laugh. The only one that made me laugh in the movie.
Right.
Unfortunately.
I would have definitely changed how the king passes away, or even if he passes away. I would have changed that whole dynamic. I would have also again, the songs for me, granted they were funny. I'm sorry, they were funny. They were funny, but in their own quirky way. But I would have changed how they were either integrated or whether to not even have them in the movie. Again, playing them maybe on a soundtrack.
It could have been or it could have been in the background or something. Like,
right.
Like you hear it, but yeah.
Yeah. And I would have changed how, again, the daughter reprises her role as future queen. Not just future queen, but the ruler of Zamunda. Why are you waiting?
I have a theory. I have a theory on that.
And then for his son, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No. You can finish. I'm just saying that they left a little opening for part 3.
Oh,
they left
the opening. No. Please,
they left the opening.
They better not.
That's what that's about. That's what that's about.
Okay. Like, not to cut anybody off, but okay, here's the thing. By the way, after this discussion, I will make sure I never go near this movie ever again. I'm gonna ignore any comments about it. I'm not gonna talk about it, any posts about it. In fact, when you edit this and put it out on YouTube, I might not watch this because we already discussed this. So which means this movie will be erased from my memory as soon as discussion is over.
But you know what?
For me to be able to enjoy.
Watson, but it's good to, here's the thing. It's good to have conversation about bad stuff so that we can build and not fall under the same pitfalls.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
That's what I was saying.
No. I agree with you. And in the past week, all the discussions I've had about it is me doing all that. because I promise you, had it not been for if I did not talk about it for the last week, this movie, I would have definitely been stuck on my heart. But now I've let it all out. Once this is over, I will make sure I never go to this movie again, in order for me to be able to go back and enjoy the original one in peace. And pretend this one doesn't exist.
Now, see, I don't let that. Now, see, I don't let that happen. I don't let a bad sequel ruin the original for me. I don't let that at all.
And
the blade. So say
but you know what? No. I hear you, but you know what it is. The thing for me is the fact that because this is fresh in my memory, fresh in my mind, fresh in my mental, at the moment in the forefront of my right now. I need to step away from it as far as possible, for as long as possible, for me to make sure at some point, you know what? Oh, they did make a sequel to this. I don't remember it. I want to get back to that point. I want to go back to a week ago when this movie did not exist.
Wedson's been traumatized.
Yo, for a fact, Wedson, I'm sending you my positive energy. All of that.
So Nia, what about you? What would you have changed?
Well, I had two separate storylines that I was thinking of. One is that he does not have a son at all. And the main plot of the story is that Izzy's son now wants to take over Zamunda. So his daughter has to step up, and so you still have all those great fight scenes with the girls and see all of them training. Right. And because I feel like Izzy's character was supposed to be silly regardless, his whole family could have been a little silly. So it could have been, most of the story could have been about their failed attempts to take over Zamunda and to take over Zamunda.
Right.
They could have done that so that there was never a son in the first place. There was never that whole convoluted, illegitimate child story. And it could just be about the girls trying to, maintain and save their throne from Izzy, who keeps trying all these failed attempts at taking it away from them.
Where does the America part come into play?
Nia, we needed the rape, though.
Changing the rules a little bit.
But
we needed the rape, though.
Bye, Antonio. Get off. Bye.
It's not rape if it happens to men. It's not rape if it happens to men. It's not rape. It's okay.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
Don't.
There could have been an opportunity for them to come to America to find more help. They could have used that opportunity to bring back Lisa's sister. That they needed more help. They needed more strategy. They needed to find a war strategy. And because Lisa's sister was rampantly manipulative, there was just you know what? Auntie could help us. And then they go back to America to get her to help them figure out a plan.
I wonder why she wasn't in the movie.
Because they forgot.
No, something happened where they couldn't get her.
There was a whole bunch of stuff that they forgot to address.
She might have. They didn't recast anybody. But they didn't recast anybody. To their. I guess.
They had everybody
almost
else.
to a fault. They didn't.
Maybe
but maybe she wasn't available.
Yeah.
And remember, this was made during the 80s, so maybe she, off the fame that she got from that, who's to say what she did with herself? So many 80s people.
At least they could have referenced. At least they could have.
And she might have been that.
Or
I get you.
My other idea was possibly that he had a son and two daughters. And if they wanted to go full circle and lean into the nostalgia, his son also said, "Dad, I don't like these girls in Zamunda. I want to be just like you, and I want to go to America and find love." And then he does that, and then at the end, maybe he decides to stay in America. And I think it was Antonio or Molly said, do a nod to Black Panther where they open up by
the whole
embassy,
street, the block,
a Zamunda embassy, and then a youth center, and all of these things, and center it around the barbershop if they insist on having those old men still there, and still have the next oldest in line take over Zamunda, so we can still at least see the progression. We can see that
you could have had the daughter do it. You could have had the daughter do it, and then you have the whole thing.
Absolutely. So
you still have the son, but then you have the daughter do it, and then you can have the daughter do every trope that Black men and all this other stuff and fuck boys or whatever women call dudes nowadays. You could have had every last one of those jokes in the movie. You could have had the get out of my face, you two up in my face type of shit, the consent. You could have had all those different things in New York City where the shit is rampant. You could have had it in New York City. And then you that's where you went. That would have been I would have watched your version of the movie for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But like they had opportunities. They had so many.
Nia,
so many good opportunities.
Can you write the movie? Can you write the movie? Can you write your version? Because I need a cleanser
like
of this version.
That's the other thing.
And please give both Timmy and Tiana Taylor their justice because they needed it. They did not get their justice.
Yes. See, General.
Hold up. Tiana Taylor.
That was her role.
Tiana Taylor, like, but her role was supposed to be like her aunt, but it was supposed to be like her aunt. No, she said my prince told me to. She was supposed to be like her aunt, which was subservient, right? So it's stand here for an hour. So an hour ago.
But even
anyways,
even when she said that, you can tell that she was just like, I think this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like and I don't know if that's.
I didn't believe her as subservient.
No, you could see it in her face at
but she was just like, literally told me to stand here.
No, it was. I think she did her. She did her part.
I did not believe Tiana Taylor as subservient in that role. I did not believe it for 1 second.
No.
She didn't even look.
She didn't even look like Taylor. If you know her or you've seen her either on Instagram, her music,
because you're thinking about who she is. Not the character.
That's not Tiana.
The character is.
It was just so out of place.
But even when she came in, she came in with the bullets all on her and stuff like that. She came in
that was Tiana,
looking,
right?
Very strong looking. You got abs. So you got abs. You got abs, so you can be a wife. I didn't. Last time I checked, most men don't want no damn abs. I don't need a six pack. We good with that. We good. No, we're all right with that. I don't need that.
Honestly,
you can't be more swollen.
I was really.
I was. Same here.
Say that again.
When I saw her, I was just like, all right, so there's going to be some intelligence that they throw into this film.
Nope.
And Izzy's going to use his daughter. Izzy's going to use his daughter to separate the family, and she's going to be like this whole femme fatale character.
That's what I thought too.
That's what I was looking for to happen. And
I thought the same shit.
And I was like, wait, this is
she's
going to stand.
Because
when she opened her mouth, my jaw hit the floor. I was like.
But that's the issue with Zamunda. They're trying to show like that these women are raised to be wives so that the family can have business together and just go on and continue it like that.
But that was
somehow
21. You're bringing us into the 21st century.
That was
somehow,
especially when you.
It's gonna change with the daughter, with part 3, quote unquote.
So they had better not do a part 3.
They better not.
But you can see that the change is coming because she's gonna be ruling, and there's no way that the daughter is gonna let all of this stuff.
But why was
Eddie Murphy
in 30 years?
Reprising this role. I'm telling y'all now. I'm going to jail. I'm fighting.
What would you have changed? Molly, what would you have changed?
I would have changed. So again, I definitely would have given actors way more lines. I would have changed the whole dynamic. I would have taken the rape scene out. Definitely. I would have either made like it was a one night stand or something. You know what I mean? And years later, maybe she comes back and Leslie comes back into play. Cool. Let's change that. I would have taken a point from Nia too, as to where he either has 2 daughters and 1 son, and either going back to New York, starting the film maybe in New York. I would have changed the whole dynamic. Like too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would have taken the son bit out of it. You could have kept every other character in it, right? You could have made Nextoria be like kind of like the Wakanda, like in Black Panther when they fought for control of Zamunda. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you could have had Tiana Taylor's character, who is strong looking, and Akeem's daughter, Mika, who was also strong. You could have them be that thing where
that would have been a good fight.
That you could have had that, right? And then you could have had the whole situation where it's like, we're 2 Black women, we don't need to fight to do it. Then you could have had that whole like, we're breaking the hierarchy of men telling us that we have to be at each other's necks to rise and all that type of stuff. Then again, you could have had it be like, you have this, here's a duel that's coming and we're gonna duel for Zamunda, and you could be like, well, I could die, I'm gonna go to America like my father did, and and this, that, and the third. And then again, not even just to find love, but just to have like some hijinks or whatever. Now you could do some funny stuff in there, and then now you have a reason for Eddie Murphy to still be running around New York, kind of chaperoning his daughter, and then his daughter's like, "Get out my face." That again, you get to have a different story with the same characters, right? Then you can have Lisa run into some of her friends that she hasn't seen, and she's like, "Oh, I'm a queen now, so like I'm on the money. Don't you see me on the money now?" Like you could have
I'm a queen from Queens.
Now you get to have that. Then what you also get to do, you get to have like she could have then stopped. You could have then had her stop in with her father in Queens. You know what I'm saying? So then you don't have to have that. Then you don't have to have him have like a fast food thing, you know, in Zamunda. You don't got to revisit that whole thing. Why is Louis Anderson's old white ass in the movie? I don't know. Get out of here with that. So then you don't got to have, you can have him then being like, but see, you could have, you know what you could have did? If you would have had McDowell's in America, you could have had Louis Anderson like, I'm finally a manager. After 30 years.
He could have been the owner
to be like,
or something. Right.
Or you could have literally been like, now I'm a manager after 30 years, just to show that like a lot of times fast food is like a dead end job, realistically. Right. And even after you get to managerial status, like, oh, I've been a manager for the last 20 years, and like this is the highest.
You still have a dead end job.
You know,
that
so you could have had
that McFlurry jokes make me want to punch my own TV screen.
But see, they had nothing. That's the thing. You had nothing.
My God.
Instead of them going into a new well for jokes, and you have comedy genius. This is the reason why Eddie Murphy won't do stand-up anymore. Arsenio Hall is definitely always being like, Eddie want to do an hour, Eddie want to do this. No. You can't do the same thing because Delirious Times is over. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. And unlike a Dave Chappelle, who continues to be, even Dave Chappelle, Killing Them Softly is not like Dave Chappelle now. It ain't the same comedy. It's just not. It's not the same comedy.
He's like George Carlin now.
Exactly. Yeah. So you could have had Eddie Murphy is gonna be. You've been rich for a long time. Mm-hmm. You've been real rich for a long time, Eddie Murphy. You can't talk about the same type of shit that you can because you're so far removed from it. Nigga, you got a bowling alley in your basement that like famous people come and bowl at your house. And it's like a big thing. So it's like they could have done this movie completely different. They went back to the same well, which was dry because it's been 30 years since they touched it. They could have did it completely different. They could have, again, you then could have had a third movie if you would have planted new seeds with new characters in America. You literally had Tracy Morgan playing the same role that he plays on the other show that he has with Tiffany Haddish.
Right.
It's the same.
It's like the same
Last OG is what it's called.
Right.
He literally plays the same exact character, which calls back to him playing Martin Lawrence's brother, man. Like you, the same character. And instead of them even having any inkling of Black excellence on a regular scale, every regular person in that movie that was a Black person, realistically, was some bullshit. Even his son, nigga, you showing up to the job interview with Tim's on.
Yeah, Tim's on.
You showing up to the job interview with Tim's on? What are we really doing out here? Like for real? What are we really doing out here? And then you sit here and then you acting like, and then you acting like you can't talk like a. This is what I was saying earlier in the thing, which is you act like you have no common sense. Those type of comedies make me sick. When there's absolutely one person who is like, "What planet do you live on that you talk
Pootie Tang almost? Y'all remember that
speak
movie,
like that?" And I love. Here we go. And Pootie Tang. Here we go. And the best thing about Pootie Tang though is Pootie Tang is not everyone is in on the joke. The whole world is in on the Pootie Tang joke. When Pootie Tang, like literally they playing on the radio station and everybody's on it, right? Everybody's on it. That's why it's funny. When you have one person that is the stand, or two, let's say 3-4 people that are standout and everyone else is regular, now it seems like, how are you even making it through the day? And they had that in this movie.
I think they
have real stupid people.
I think they wrote the son.
Go ahead.
They wrote the son. I believe that they wrote the son. They wrote his character to be a certain way so that when he becomes Prince, he can become refined. Because and they were trying to change the way he walks and trying to like change him, but
they crippled it though. They crippled that though. They literally went back on that exact point when they was like, oh, now you got to walk like this because this is how black people walk. Black people walk like this. Nah, my nigga, I'm a royal person.
right.
So instead of again, and this is why this is like we've all said, he could have literally went to America and did a thing. You could have had Zamunda be a thing, but you could have literally went back to America. And when the girl said you get to be the Prince of Queens or the King of Queens, you could have had him being a prince. And like Molly said, you could have had him, or Mia said, have him be an ambassador.
Well, that's what they did at the end.
In America for Zamunda. You know
But
what I'm saying?
it was too late. It was too late.
It's too late. Yeah, it's too late. It's
they
too late.
added it too late. Like, again, if you're going to do something like that, again, let's think about Black Panther for a second. How they had story, even in the comic books, the story takes, eventually, she takes on that role of Black Panther after King T'Challa does eventually pass. She takes that role. So, movie, as we know, recipe to Chadwick Boseman, we know that Shuri is now the ambassador, and she goes from Wakanda to not New York. I'm thinking, wait, y'all got New York stuck in my head right now.
But
y'all know what I'm talking about.
Zamunda.
But I think there was a conscious effort not to copy off Black Panther. That's why they didn't go with Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. Because if you put Michael B. Jordan in that movie, it's pretty much the same character from Black Panther back
but
again.
But right, mind you, they didn't pick Michael B. Jordan. They picked Rotimi. They picked Rotimi from Power. Again, you could have done so much with that too. You really could have, even if they had Ryan Coogler write the script. You have Rotimi. You also could have had Michael B. Jordan just show up in the movie. You could have had him just bump into somebody, right? And with the same hairstyle he had as Killmonger, just as that would have been fire. That would have been fire.
I think they were trying to keep that. I think they were trying to keep that. This is from Wakanda. That's why they even mentioned. They could have mentioned Wakanda. They could have. But they did mention.
They did mention Wakanda. Leslie Jones mentioned it. She mentioned it.
Okay.
She mentioned it.
Even the
but here's the thing.
Lavelle's outfit also was very much like Michael B. Jordan, so was his hair.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
He looked like Killmonger. He literally.
That's what I'm saying. Imagine Michael B. Jordan was in that role. It would have been too much of a similarity.
Like Killmonger if Killmonger was a fool.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay,
you know the word right out of my mouth.
That's the word.
They made Zamunda the Mel Brooks version of Wakanda. And
it was like a parody. It was like a parody.
Yeah, it was a parody.
I'm tired of being made to look stupid, to be quite honest.
There you go, Nia. The Mel Brooks version, right? Every Spaceballs is a classic movie, right? Why? Because they take Star Wars, they make fun of it, and it's funny. I love Spaceballs. Again, one of my favorite ones. It's still funny that everything hits. But you know why it's really good? And even I think they tried to do another Spaceballs, or they were supposed to do a Spaceballs too, and they just didn't, because you can't. Certain comedies, that's the initial problem, the initial thing that I said, which is when you go back to the well of comedy. When we look at like The Hangover, the first Hangover was hilarious.
It was.
The next two did the exact same thing. And why was it trash, Wedson? Is because you literally took the same beats. But now it's in Bangkok, and now you do this, right? And it's just it's horrible that again, it's you have literally one of the, to me, Eddie Murphy is the greatest comedian that's ever lived. To me, I agree because because Eddie Murphy is at a level. I was talking to one of my friends about this. When you had Eddie Murphy making tons of movies. When you have, like, Dave Chappelle can't make a Golden Child. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to be in that kind of movie. He can't make that movie. He can't make a 48 Hours. You know what I'm saying? He's a great
comedian, not a great actor. So he can do it. Eddie Murphy is all of it.
You can't have another Blackula. You can't have another Blackula.
And then on top of that, I mean, even and that's one of those movies where he just did it for the sake of doing it, right? That's one of those movies that's like, let's just do it for the culture, right? Which was it had its funny moments and all this other stuff, and it was during the 90s, so we're gonna forgive you for doing that. But when you talk about someone at the level of Eddie Murphy, who is literally nobody can touch what he's done. This man did fire stand-up comedy, was on literally the best cast of SNL they've ever had. That's legendary, right? His skits on on SNL are still funny today. And then all of a sudden you have him go off to be the biggest movie star at the time. Nobody was bigger than Eddie Murphy in age. Just nobody was. And to make comedy, to make some action, to make even like a little bit of an adventure, he could do no wrong for a long time. And then to go away and then come back and then make like the Clumps and all that type of stuff, Dr. Dolittle and all those type of little movies. For him to come and go away and then tell people multiple times that he felt like it wasn't time to come back, and then drop this piece of crap in our laps and think that all you got to do is smile. I do feel good today. Yes. And you think that that's all we need to give it a pass. And because you have black faces, I said this today to one of my friends, because it has a black face does not automatically mean it gets my seal of approval. You're not getting my money. You're not getting my attention. You do not get my gratitude. And you don't necessarily get my support just because it has a black face on it. I need quality no matter what it is.
Antonio, you know what? I felt so disrespected that they gave us this piece of crap as a movie that I was like, I should just cancel my Prime membership. Because clearly Amazon don't respect me. Amazon don't respect my money.
It's a bag. They got a bag.
I feel disrespected.
That's the
they
bag.
Gotta go. I feel like Jeff Bezos, fuck just say fuck me. Like Jeff Bezos attacked me personally with that movie. He allowed this shit to happen.
Jeff Bezos he do not care about your subscription, man. Let me tell you.
Clearly not.
He's out here. He's out here.
No, but you know what though? You know what? I have a question. How do you think things would have been if this would have came out in the movies? I think it would have been a different experience.
No, it would have been a flop.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like
First of all, everybody would have been dressed up like Black Panther. We would have dressed up. No. Yeah. We would have before we knew how the movie was.
Right. Yeah, we would have went out and drove.
It would have been a big thing. It would have been a big thing.
We would have went out the same way we went to support Black Panther. When Black Panther first came out, I feel like we would have all dressed up again, supported this movie, and then after we went at the theater, we probably would have all been pissed off.
Right. But see, do y'all automatically? Let me ask y'all that. Do y'all automatically give it a go just because it's got black people in it?
No.
We expected it. We expected it to be good because it's Eddie Murphy, and this is the follow-up to a classic. Everybody had high expectations, you know. So, but I have to say, like I said, when I watched it again, it was a little better than the first time. If you watch it again without the expectation that it has to be great, if you watch it
better
again,
than me, man.
I didn't watch it with the expectations of it being I low-key didn't walk into it expecting it to be great. I thought, I'm like, all right, it's going to be pretty decent. You know what I mean? It's not going to live exactly up to this beautiful occult classic, but maybe it could hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think you realize how mad I was. I threw my phone at one point. I was so mad.
All right. So starting with you, right? What score would you give it? Like if you give it a report card, A, B, C, D, F, what would you give it?
I'm not gonna give it an F. I'm gonna give it a D. I'm gonna give it a D.
Okay.
Only because I feel like there are some things that could definitely be fixed. But I feel if they make a third one, I'm telling y'all, Fox 5 News. Period. Fox 5 News. But it gets a D for me. It's a D for me.
Well, Wedson, how about you? I know what you're gonna say, but I'm just gonna ask. We're going around.
Is E for effort?
I need to go. I'm packing my stuff. I'm moving. Goodbye, Wedson. Goodbye.
Antonio?
For me, it gets a D for Dookie, because that's what it was. It's a Dookie movie. It's a hot flaming turd of a movie. The effort, there was no effort. Realistically, there was no effort. And that's the unfortunate aspect of it. There was no effort. They only get to D simply because of me as an artist. The costumes were great. The daughters always looked fly. The queen Lisa always looked fly. The interior
there was some effort.
Pretty nice.
That's the effort.
That's it.
Right.
But that's why they get a D and
That's
not
not
an F.
it.
That's why they get a D, because it's not an F. Like literally, the only redeeming thing I have to say about that movie is the daughter looked like Mika looked fly. If Mika looked like, I mean, he didn't even make his own daughter look as cool.
Was
he didn't even
gorgeous.
make his own daughter look as cool as Mika. Like, knowing that that's Eddie Murphy's daughter, why would you have your daughter not even look as tight as the other girl that you have in here? Like, that's your actual daughter. Like, have her, like, quote unquote, on fleek. Like, anyways, like, come on. Like, so for me, a D.
Yo, Antonio, when he said that joke in the beginning, am I on fleek? I was like, oh God, this is gonna be trash. Oh,
I am on fleek today. I
shouldn't have pressed play. Oh my God. Go ahead, Nia.
I'm on fleek.
It's the fleek for me.
I want to give it a D minus, but I'm gonna be generous and I'm gonna give it a flat D, mainly just because of, just like Antonio said, for costume design, makeup, and his daughters. Those are the only reasons. But I really, and you know what? And also for their shameless product plugs, I'm gonna settle on a D, because this movie was brought to you by Pepsi and Puma, and
Fashion Nova.
Fashion Nova.
Fashion
Did
Nova.
anybody peep that there was a Fashion Nova in Brooklyn? Did anybody peep that? Peep that scene?
You know what I did peep though? Sure. I did peep that they were at Crown Royal, and Crown Royal was in there. Why do black people gotta like? Come on, man. Step away from that.
I gotta love the shameless publicity that they tried to throw in there for their product placement. And so my first instinct was an F, and then I went to D minus, but the daughter's costume design and then the product placement stuff, which was pretty slick, I'm gonna give them a D.
Okay. When I first saw it, I gave it an F. After rewatching it, I'm gonna give it a C plus. I felt because no, I'm gonna give, because if you, I wrote down the lines. I wrote down a lot of quotes, which I didn't say on here. There's a lot of good.
Great.
There's some good quotes. There's some good quotes.
For this opinion.
Okay.
For this opinion. I do not trust your opinion of movies ever again. Continue.
Listen. If you watch the movie over again, there are some good quotes. It's not as good as the first. It will never be as good as the first, but there's some good lines. The problem is that the story drowns it out. So when you're watching the movie, you're like, this is trash, and you can't see the good little nuggets that's in there. It takes away from it. So it messes up the lines.
But this
literally chuckled like four times.
I feel like it's like taking a shot of bad alcohol. You know, the more shots you take, the better it tastes. And it's not because the taste is improved, it's because it's wearing your system down.
Right.
Come on, Nia.
So I mean, I see what you're saying, and God bless your sweet spirit, Greg, for being so kind.
A C is not a good grade.
Watching it, it's gonna get better. It's better the more you watch it, but it doesn't make it all right.
No. I didn't say the movie is great.
A passing grade.
I didn't say the movie is great, but
a C is passing though. A C is a passing. A C is a passing grade. A C is a passing grade.
But a C is not passing for Eddie Murphy. So it's not passing for Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy literally said that the reason why he hasn't done movies lately is because he's been putting out trash movies. That's what he just said that.
Yeah, wow.
And he thought this was a good idea? He made this, watched it, thought this was a good idea?
But that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, you know, not everybody who's a comedian is necessarily a great writer. And I'm not saying that, I don't know. Maybe it looked like it was rushed. It looked like it was rushed, even though they had all this time. I can't tell you why it came out the way
you have your Eddie Murphy. Yeah, Eddie Murphy, man. Like, you at the top of the food chain, bro. There's nobody. You don't gotta keep up with Eddie Murphy. Don't gotta keep up with nobody. Like Kevin Hart ain't it, man. Like, Kevin Hart is good at what he's done. He ain't it, man. He not it. He's not Eddie Murphy. He can't stand on that mountaintop. He just not yet. He can't.
Mm-hmm.
So like Eddie, even The Rush, like and I appreciate the fact that you saw the good in it. There's no way I could watch that movie ever again. It's absolutely horrible. From the jump, it is horrible. It really is horrible from the jump. And after the 5 minutes, it's almost damn near unwatchable. I found myself trying to like really find the nuggets, like you said, the nuggets. Give me the nuggets. Give me the nuggets of something. I'm literally carving out, trying to find something good about this movie.
Right.
Every character that was even remote, that even I liked even remotely in the movie, I hated by the end of the movie because I was like, I'm tired of hearing you say the same shit. You know, another thing that pissed me off too, how did you have, like, when we talk about Salt and Pepper and the soundtrack, first off, you know we don't do soundtracks no more. That's not even a thing anymore. Like, that's first off, really. We don't do soundtracks like that no more. Black Panther was the last time I heard somebody
There is a soundtrack.
Black Panther was the best. No, the Lion King movie. That's a really good soundtrack.
No,
too.
but they do have a soundtrack to this, though. They do.
But I'm okay.
It's not like back in the days. Case, like, right.
The other thing that me, just personally as a black man, what I would love to see my fellow like black women do, if you're gonna have fake hair in your head, please look respectable. If you're gonna be on camera, please. Like, Pepper looked a hot mess when Salt and Pepper came out there. I was like, what is going on with your head, woman? And I'm sitting here like, you are a classic hip hop. You are a hip hop legend. Salt and Pepper is hip hop royalty, right? Female empowerment royalty. And all of a sudden you have Pepper's hair all the way the fuck out to here. You have just come on, yo. And that's the thing I liked about Lisa. Even though Lisa definitely has some weave in there, they didn't make it seem like it was super fake. You know what I'm saying? And then you had this other character in it. I mean, it's just I'm at this point in time in 2021, if you are going to be a black person on TV, you need to make sure that you are representing your race well. If you are out here shucking and jiving and buffooning and shit, I have no time for it. I have no love for it. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to, me personally, I don't want to see anything that's making black people look like buffoons, making black people look like we're some kind of shuckers or jivers, or like we're hustling, meaning not like you're hustling, you're grinding to get yours, but hustle like we're trying to get over on somebody. I don't want to watch anything that's talking about drug dealing or anything like that, or black people being some kind of menace. Any of those type of things, I'm not giving it any of my attention anymore, right? And unfortunately, I understand, like, when women want to wear wigs and things of that nature, I understand the convenience of it. I don't want to do my hair. I grew up with nothing but women in my home, pretty much. So I understand it. If you're going to walk out the house and be filmed, if you're going to walk out that trailer door and be filmed, make sure you look right. Pepper needs to be smacked for how she let herself be filmed in the thing. And then to when we were just talking about product placement, the fact that we still have all these drugs and cigarettes and stuff still be so prominently attached to black culture. I'm so tired of that, right? I'm so tired of that being a link to our history, especially in this country. If you go and look at other products, around the world, ain't nobody out here talking about Ciroc, and ain't nobody out here talking about Crown Royal. You know what I'm saying? I get, okay, it's funny as Crown Royal. Okay, cool, it got a crown on it. Nah, man, cut that out.
Heard you.
That's just me.
Well, we had an interesting talk, and wow,
baby.
I don't know what else to say. I thank you everybody for being part of this. We're close to 2 hours, so we went in.
I gotta get going.
We went in. But thank you everyone for watching as well. Take care. Later.
Bye guys.
Thank you for checking out Table of Cinema. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and also hit the bell notification to be alerted when the next show is posted. Also, visit tablechatter.com if you'd like to make a donation, and follow me on Instagram @tablechatter, and DM me if you'd like to say hello or if you'd like to be a participant on a future episode. Take care.